heart of the bustling metropolis, where the city lights painted the night sky and the sound of honking horns and hurried footsteps echoed through the canyons of steel and glass, lived a man named Alexander Harrington. Born into opulence, Alexander was a scion of wealth, a tycoon of industry, and a master of the concrete jungle that was New York City. Alexander's world was one of penthouses on Park Avenue, chauffeured limousines, and Michelin-starred restaurants. His days were a symphony of stock market fluctuations and boardroom negotiations. In the towering skyscrapers of Manhattan, he built an ivory tower of arrogance, shielded from the struggles of the common man. However, the air atop his ivory tower was thin, and the view obscured by the smog of hubris. Alexander, blinded by his wealth and success, had little regard for the lives of those he deemed beneath him. He moved through the city like a king, indifferent to the struggles of the kingdom he ruled. One fateful day, as Alexander sailed through the city in his chauffeured limousine, a series of events unfolded that would shake the foundations of his ivory tower. The stock market, once a playground for his financial prowess, took an unexpected turn. Investments crumbled, and the empire he thought invincible began to show its vulnerability. In the face of financial turmoil, Alexander's arrogance met its first challenge. Boardroom discussions turned into tense negotiations, and the once obedient stocks rebelled against their master. The media, once enamored with his success, now scrutinized his every move. The cracks in the facade of invincibility were becoming impossible to ignore. As financial woes escalated, Alexander's once luxurious lifestyle began to crumble. The penthouse on Park Avenue echoed with emptiness, the chauffeured limousine was replaced by the subway, and the Michelin-starred restaurants turned into street vendors serving humble meals. The descent into adversity was swift and unforgiving. Alexander, accustomed to commanding the attention of the city, found himself becoming a mere observer of the world he had once dominated. The streets of New York, once paved with privilege, now felt unfamiliar and challenging. In the midst of his struggles, Alexander had a chance encounter that would alter the course of his life. On a cold winter night, as he sought refuge in a makeshift shelter, he met a man named Thomas. Thomas, once a successful entrepreneur who had faced his own trials, saw beyond the facade of wealth and recognized the vulnerability in Alexander's eyes. Thomas, now a humble volunteer at the shelter, extended a hand of kindness to the fallen magnate. He shared his own journey of loss, resilience, and the invaluable lessons he had learned about the true meaning of wealth. In the humble shelter, surrounded by the downtrodden and the forgotten, Alexander felt a glimmer of humility take root within him. As the days turned into weeks, Alexander began to see the city with new eyes. He no longer walked with the pride of a king, but with the humility of a commoner. The city that once served as his kingdom became a tapestry of lives, each thread weaving a story of struggle, resilience, and the pursuit of happiness. Alexander, once disdainful of the subway, now navigated its labyrinthine passages with a newfound appreciation for the diversity and resilience of its passengers. The once arrogant tycoon found himself engaging in conversations with street vendors, artists, and ordinary New Yorkers, discovering a world beyond the walls of his ivory tower. As he reacquainted himself with the city's pulse, Alexander realized the bridges he had burned in his climb to success. Determined to rebuild what was lost, he reached out to former colleagues, employees, and business partners. Instead of commanding from above, he sought collaboration and understanding. The once isolated magnate became a bridge builder, mending relationships and forging new connections. His journey of humility extended to philanthropy as well. The once indifferent tycoon now actively participated in charitable initiatives, working alongside Thomas at the shelter that had become a symbol of transformation. Together, they sought to create a support system for those facing adversity, recognizing the inherent dignity in every human being. In the midst of his transformation, Alexander faced a choice: to return to the ivory tower of arrogance or embrace a new identity. The city that had once served as his kingdom now beckoned him to become a different kind of leader, one rooted in empathy, compassion, and the understanding that true success was measured not by the height of the tower, but by the depth of one's impact on the lives of others. Alexander chose humility. He relinquished the trappings of his former life, opting for a modest apartment in a diverse neighborhood. The chauffeured limousine gave way to the subway rides he had come to appreciate. The Michelin-starred restaurants were replaced by community gatherings and shared meals with newfound friends. The city of New York, known for its resilience, witnessed an unprecedented transformation. The once arrogant tycoon, now a humble advocate for change, became a symbol of redemption and reinvention. Alexander, in collaboration with Thomas and other like-minded individuals, initiated projects to address homelessness, inequality, and social injustice. The media, once critical of his arrogance, now highlighted the metamorphosis of Alexander Harrington. His story resonated with a city that, despite its towering skyscrapers, thrived on the strength and resilience of its diverse inhabitants. The once isolated magnate had become a champion for unity, humility, and the belief that everyone, regardless of their station in life, played a vital role in the city's narrative. As the years unfolded, Alexander's legacy became intertwined with the city's evolving identity. His journey from the pinnacle of arrogance to the depths of humility left an indelible mark on the fabric of New York. The bridges he had rebuilt became pathways for collaboration and understanding, and the once dismissed notion of empathy as a leadership trait gained traction in corporate boardrooms. Alexander, in his new role as a mentor and advocate for social change, inspired a generation of leaders to prioritize humility over hubris. The city, now characterized by a more compassionate ethos, continued to thrive not just in economic terms, but in the richness of its human connections. In the twilight of his life, Alexander Harrington looked out from his modest apartment onto the city that had witnessed his transformation. The empire he had built was no longer defined by towering skyscrapers, but by the bridges of empathy, compassion, and humility that spanned the diverse neighborhoods of New York. His journey, once propelled by a desire for wealth and power, had found its true purpose in the service of others. The once arrogant tycoon had become a humble citizen of the city, contributing not just to its economic prosperity, but to the well-being of its people. As the city lights shimmered below, Alexander smiled, knowing that his legacy would be measured not in dollars and cents, but in the lives touched, the bridges rebuilt, and the humility that had transformed not just one man, but an entire city. New York, the concrete jungle that never slept, had learned the invaluable lesson that even in the shadows of towering skyscrapers, the most enduring strength was found in the humility of the human spirit. As the years rolled on, Alexander Harrington's transformation became a beacon of hope and inspiration for a city that never ceased to change. The once arrogant tycoon had seamlessly integrated into the fabric of New York, leaving behind a legacy defined not by skyscrapers or wealth, but by the bridges of compassion and understanding he had rebuilt. Alexander's modest apartment became a gathering place for community leaders, activists, and individuals passionate about creating positive change. The humble empire he had built extended far beyond his personal story, resonating through initiatives addressing homelessness, education, and social justice. The city, now marked by a more compassionate ethos, thrived not only in economic terms but in the richness of its human connections. The shelters and community projects initiated by Alexander and Thomas flourished, providing not just material support but a sense of dignity and belonging to those who had been marginalized. The bridges they had rebuilt symbolized a city united by empathy, transcending socio-economic boundaries and fostering a spirit of collaboration that rippled through every borough. In his twilight years, Alexander found fulfillment not in the trappings of success, but in the lives he had touched. The once arrogant tycoon had become a humble leader, an advocate for change, and a testament to the transformative power of humility in the face of adversity. As Alexander looked out from his apartment onto the city skyline, he saw a New York that had evolved. The skyscrapers stood tall, but they were no longer the sole measure of achievement. The true metropolis was the interconnected web of relationships, the strength of communities, and the shared commitment to a better, more compassionate future. The tale of Alexander Harrington is a poignant reminder that wealth, success, and power, while significant, can blind us to the shared humanity that unites us all. The city of New York, with its diverse tapestry of lives, becomes a microcosm reflecting the importance of humility in navigating the challenges of life. Through Alexander's journey, we learn that adversity has the power to transform, to break down the walls of arrogance and open the door to empathy. His descent from the ivory tower serves as a cautionary tale, urging us to remain connected to the realities faced by those around us. Success, when rooted in humility, becomes a force for positive change, a catalyst for building bridges rather than erecting walls. The story encourages us to re-evaluate our definitions of success, to recognize that true achievement goes beyond personal gain. It teaches us that leadership is not just about influence, but about the impact we have on the lives of others. The legacy of humility is not measured in material possessions, but in the relationships we nurture, the bridges we build, and the positive change we bring to the world. As we navigate the complex landscape of life, may we heed the humility imperative, to listen, to understand, and to empathize. For in the humility of our interactions lies the strength to build communities, to overcome adversity, and to leave behind a legacy that transcends the transient nature of wealth and power. The tale of Alexander Harrington beckons us to embrace humility as an indispensable guiding light on our collective journey towards a more compassionate and interconnected world.